All right, y'all, let's wrap up this Never Ever Mets season. Okay, let's talk about the Never Ever Mets reunion. Okay, I feel like it gave what it was supposed to give. It had a little bit of mess. You know, there was a lot of drama, which we like the drama, and a whole lot of like moments where I kind of cringe because either I could relate to it myself, or I know somebody who it reminded me of, like just the different things that, the different things that I saw. Even though this is reality TV, it really does relate to real life. So y'all know I like to talk about self-care because you need to be engaging in some sort of self-care physically, mentally, spiritually, and emotionally on a daily basis, okay? So, I am watching this for entertainment, but I'm also like always watching through a self-care lens because I love self-care, okay? So, what we're going to do is we're going to unpack some of these moments because y'all, I know somebody out there has to see themselves in some of this, okay? There was like an overall theme of people being responsible for somebody else's happiness, right? They all came there to see if their connection with this person could be the same or better as it was online. But reality kicks in, and people's personalities in person aren't meshing as they were online, because you can omit a lot of stuff when you're dating online, okay? But a lot of the people's outlooks was, it was about themselves, like, well, I can't take that. That's not gonna work for me, and this, that, and the other. And it was like, it kind of did seem like a lot of them were relying on somebody else for their happiness, right? And the truth is, you're not responsible for anybody else's happiness, all right? And when Tatiana said that at the reunion, that was a word, all right? That was a whole healing journey in one sentence. You're not the fix. You're not the healing center. You're not the, emotional support dog, okay? You're only responsible to be present and be kind, but you're not the entire makeup or plan of the relationship, okay? Helping somebody, doesn't mean that you're healing them, okay? You can't, what's the word? You can't overdo it in your way to love. Like, you can't just say, I can help heal this person. You can't do that. You cannot do that. Okay, so that's one of the takeaways that I had for that part, because I felt her when she said that. But while we talking about self-care, accountability is self-care, and I saw somebody take accountability, okay? I know that Brittany's personality comes off, not Brittany, oh gosh, Alicia, I don't know why I wanted to call her Brittany. Alicia's personality comes off as a little stuck up a little bit, but she actually took accountability, and she used the words, she should have done something. She should have handled it better, right? She said she should have done something. She should have done it differently. But she also said she didn't feel safe, when she didn't really mean that. She really meant, don't yell at me. You know what I'm saying? And so for her to be like, in that moment, I made a mistake. That's real. That's real. All right. So we don't talk enough about how clarity is kindness. And I don't mean kindness to others. I mean kindness to ourselves. Okay. We need to talk a lot about that, because your words actually matter. So you never want to mislabel a feeling that can make you spiral in the moment, right? Like, you're saying, I don't feel safe. That sends a different message, and things can escalate, real quickly or whatever. So you have to pause and ask yourself, what is it that I'm really trying to express? Like, how do I feel? How can I put this into words? What am I trying to say? Okay. But I was like, shout out to her, because she took major accountability by saying, in that moment, I made a mistake. All right. And she really ain't have to say nothing else after that, because that's just a great acknowledgement in itself. But I was like happy that they actually let that air, because a lot of these reality shows don't really show you parts where they're talking about things like this, right? Things like, taking accountability. They just kind of let the person go off and look like a bad guy all the time or whatever. Now, talking about, somebody that should have expressed themselves, Brittany was doing a lot of people pleasing. You know what I'm saying? Like, for her to answer at that table the question of, if, how is your sex, do you think y'all sexually compatible? And she said yes, to keep the peace, because she didn't want him to feel bad, but he was not thinking about her. This is where, keeping the peace isn't always peaceful. You're 9 times out of 10 going to be the one getting hurt over that. You know what I'm saying? How many times do you remember keeping quiet about something just to not make a situation awkward? You know what I'm saying? And then that awkwardness stayed with you, you know what I mean, for weeks. So holding your boundaries is how you build peace, not just keep the illusion of it. Like, so if you don't agree with something, or something that you have to say, especially when it comes to how you feel, say that shit, okay? Say that shit. That's all I gotta say. And it's, like I said, it's a lot of different things that we could look at in these shows that we could take away from. Like, okay, even when Clay was lying, he might have thought it was a little lie to be lying about the vegan thing or whatever, but she was so spot on when she was like, if he's lying about lunch, he's probably lying about love. If she if she looked back at that, she probably thought she was speaking into the future, okay? So, I mean, really, if you're dating somebody, especially if you're getting to know them, you cannot excuse the small lies, because they usually lead to big disappointments. Like, that, as we can see, he was lying about everything, okay? And the other thing that I noticed, and this is something I always talk about, is dating for potential, right? Like, you can see somebody and you could be like, oh, he's this, he's that. You're thinking about the potential of how y'all could be, but the only problem is it's only your view of the potential. If they're not seeing that same potential, then you are wasting your time. So that's why I always say, do not date potential. And this is what Charlie was doing. She was like she was trying to get that round peg into that square, or however you say it, the square peg into that round hole, hard as I don't know what. Even on the reunion, she did not want to be like, okay, this is crazy, I can't rock with this dude like that, whatever. She still let this dude, kind of talk her in circles, and then she still wanted to try to understand what was going on. She was still trying to decode, like, why he did what he did. And it's like, girl, he told you, and he showed you, like, it was so obvious. And I know the show was edited, but when she watched it back, she even said, I did not see a lot. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, she does not need any more closure. She needs to believe what the hell already happened, that we already saw on the screen, right? Stop it. Just stop trying to understand it. That's why we cannot go off of potential. You have to focus on what is actually happening, okay? But that is where I'll stop with that, because I could go on and on and on about a lot of other self-care nuggets that we can get from these shows. But, like I say, even though the show is entertainment, these patterns are real. These are things that we've seen our friends go through or deal with, or feelings that we've actually, experienced, depending on which cast member you're talking about. You know what I'm saying? But I will say that there were parts of this reunion that felt like, what's the right word? It felt overproduced. Like, I don't want to say scripted necessarily, but it was just like, I could tell that there was a lot of direction on where the conversation was going in between, and we just didn't see it all as usual. But even in the drama, we can see, like, real life patterns. People settling, right? Or people causing confusion, or just, like, giving people the silent treatment. Like, we can just see these different aspects of people, and we can relate to them. That's why we love reality TV so much, because it's all of those things, in a highlighted version. They highlight these things. So I feel like if we're going to watch it, because we're going to watch it, right? Let us look at it in a way that we can get entertained, and we can also be like, you know what? Okay, I recognize that. And maybe you recognize something that you need to work on yourself. I mean, you can't help these people in their situations, but you could definitely take something away for yourself. You know what I'm saying? Watch the show for fun, but, also use it as a mirror, because these shows are like a microcosm of what we see in the world, right? Like I said, everybody can watch one of these shows and see somebody on this show to be like, oh, I know somebody like that, okay? And it's like that because this is an example of what is out there in the world. So if you didn't take away anything from this video, the question that I will end with for this show is, what is it that you've just been tolerating? Because a lot of these people were just tolerating the situation and, oh, it's something to do. So what is it in your life that you have just been tolerating? All right. If any of that hit, I know it's a different type of, chat about reality TV, but if any of that hit, that's okay. We're not judging these folks. We're learning from them. Okay, that's what I do here. I don't know about y'all, but I like to talk real self-care in a way that actually relates to how life is, how life feels. Okay. On top of that, a new episode of my podcast drops this week tomorrow, and we're talking about I'm talking with a trainer. I actually did an interview, so I'm going to speak about that because he dropped a lot of gems on, like, just starting over, being consistent, and, the mindset that you kind of have to develop when you start working out, okay? So if you're still learning how to show up for yourself and include self-care in your life daily, check out the podcast. All right, the link is in my description. And that's it. I'm out of here. I will see y'all in the next video. Ready to Love is supposed to come back, and I saw the commercial say this summer. We still don't know what date. I gotta watch the last episode to see what the heck happened. You know what I'm saying? It's been way too long. They made us watch NeverEverMets. So definitely will be back with those reviews because that is the show that I mainly review. So get down in the comments. Let me know what you thought about this episode. What kind of things did you notice while you were watching the show? What keeps you watching? Okay. But anyway, I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Peace.